Alors bonjour à tous et à toutes. Je suis heureuse de vous présenter aujourd'hui un auteur qui s'appelle Dann Alexander. Alors Dan, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself to our viewers to tell them what you're doing and what is the book you wrote about.
Certainly, thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. So I'm a freelance writer based just outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia. My book, Planned Unparenthood, Creating a Life Without Procreating, which I released a couple of years ago, was a book about being child-free and not having kids from a guy's perspective. But it also explores some other issues, such as people who can't have kids by no choice, and explores topics such as the prejudice faced by people who choose not to have children and other issues that might be sub-related to that.
That's very interesting. And Dan, could you tell us, first of all, did you have trouble writing this book? Because there's not a lot of information for men that choose not to have children, especially on the internet. I didn't see much information about that.
I had no trouble at all, which was wonderfully surprising because I had written an outline. Within days after deciding I was going to do this, I had started to build an outline, and I had some wonderful advice from a colleague who has written a couple of best-selling books, and had sort of walked through the process with him a bit as far as a proper outline. And it just sort of happened from there. I carried a notebook around for over a year, and I would scratch things into that outline and broke it down enough where I was able to tell complete stories, so everything tied together really well. It took a while to get everything down, and then revisions took some time. I ended up writing another book while I was doing my revisions, just to keep working. But no trouble at all. And you're correct that there was limited information out there, written from a guy's perspective, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this in the first place. But the information that was out there from several colleagues of mine who've written books is tremendous and wonderful. So I was able to benefit from not just my own experience, but the experience of others as well.
And are these colleagues Canadians or Americans?
Most of those colleagues are Americans who published.
Really?
But I'm learning more. There's more. It seems like there's more blogs that are starting up now, not within our country as well, and over in Europe as well. There's more people that are putting themselves out there about this, or it's that I'm just noticing it now because I spend a lot more time looking up the information. But it seems like it's very much a booming, subject.
I feel absolutely the same way. I think something is finally going on, and I guess we're part of it, so that's great. Tell us then, did you always knew you didn't want kids, or was that something that came up later in your life as a questioning, or?
I always felt from day one that I never wanted kids. Always. From the time I was a kid, it just didn't seem like it was for me. I do have memories of being fairly early age and saying to myself, this was not going to be the life that I wanted. And at some point I do mention this in the book, that I might have said I was going to have kids in an effort to win over a girl's heart when I was much younger. But I was admittedly lying through my teeth.
So did you have to face prejudice when you told that to family members or women that you met that you didn't want kids?
Not so much from family or from ex-girlfriends or girls I had dated per se. Not really from them. More from maybe colleagues that I would encounter in the regular pace of a day. There was always the "you'll change your mind" or "you don't know what you're missing," and things like that. That rarely ever came from within a close circle, within family or friends. Very rarely, if at all, come to think of it.
And what is in what field do you work?
I have my day job is in law. I'm a legal assistant, but I consider myself a writer first. Always have and probably always will, because I work evenings, early mornings, early evenings, weekends in my freelance practice out of my home here.
I'm asking because this for me was kind of a hard thing, working and having all these, because I'm a teacher, so I was having all these women around me that worked hard creating families and were very devoted to this, and I very often felt like I couldn't relate really with them because I was not experienced the same thing. So
Right.
I get it when you tell that you felt the pressure came more from the workspace or the people with whom you were working. Do you have any brothers or sisters, and do they have kids?
I have an older brother who's in the Northwest Territories. He doesn't have kids and has told me often that if he never were to have kids, he would be quite okay with that. And he works as a school administrator, guidance counselor, so he's surrounded by young, kids working with them, and has for several years. He's worked in some northern remote regions of the country, in occasionally some pretty harsh conditions where kids are going through a lot of stuff. So he's got a pretty good perspective on seeing that end of things too. My sister passed away at quite a young age. She would have been the oldest. She was only 4 days old when she passed away, and she passed away from a condition which is now fairly treatable.
Really?
Yeah.
How sad.
Yep.
And how is the book doing, and what is the response you get from the people who buy the book or the people that write to you? Is there an increase of people writing to you, men wanting to connect with you? How is that going on for you?
The book's done well in the last couple of years. It's to be honest, it kind of comes and goes depending on when I'm able to do some marketing and promotion. I had other things going on this year that sort of slowed down my work as far as self-promoting, and slowed down my writing practice, which I'm just picking up again. But as I'm able to connect with others socially and through social media groups and so on, then I'm able to get interest towards it. But I don't always go into those kinds of discussions with the idea that I'm going to promote the book, although I try to do it. It's nice just to get people talking.
Yes.
To give someone, you want others to know that we're all out here, and we can discuss any issues related to being child-free or childless, and it's about keeping the discussion going. If I can sell a few books while that happens, that's great. But I've come to the point where I think I realize it's so important just to talk about the message.
And why is it so important for you? Would you be the same person if you didn't write this book?
I would still be. I think if I didn't write this, which it's hard to imagine if I had never written it, I would still be pursuing keeping those discussions going for sure, because I think I still would have explored options to connect socially with others. Yes. Or through online. I would have explored those options, I think, and looking at different websites and things like that and writing to people. So I think I still would have taken the route of trying to keep the discussion going.
Great. Dan, so how do you accomplish yourself as a child-free man? What are your goals in life? What do you like to do with your life? What is the purpose of your life? Because some people will say that if you don't have kids, well, you have no purpose. Some people think that, but we both know that is not true. So for you, what is the purpose of your life?
I don't know if I could answer that completely, but if I were to give you a short answer, would be to live life to the fullest. As long as you're not hurting anyone else or, causing any trouble, then live life to the fullest. Do what you want to do. And I'm learning more about that, more so in the last few months. It's just important to chase after and do what you really love to do, whether it's right or if someone wants to be into the creative side of things and balance day jobs like you and I both do.
Yeah.
It's important to still have that aspiration and have it. I think if I wasn't working, I would be probably out of my mind a little bit more so than I'm often accused of. But it's important to keep having passions, and that to me is part of living life to the fullest. I don't believe for a minute that you need to have children to fulfill the purpose of living life. But many people have often said that, as you mentioned, like, then what is your purpose?
Yeah.
Well, the purpose is to live life to the fullest, whether you have kids or you don't have kids.
And what are your passions? You talked about, we see guitars behind you. We know you're a writer, and I can tell you love cats because there was a cat hanging around in the back.
Yeah, she's behind me. She is still there. That's one of three that we have, and we have two small dogs as well. But yes, I play bass occasionally when I have time, which hasn't been often lately. But I certainly love to play bass in this little office. Got amplifiers on the other side of the wall, which you can't see. And I like to go for long drives. My wife and I like to travel around and see different things, and just explore new areas. And we're both movie fans. We like doing a lot of different things. Live theater. I went to live theater last night for the first time since I was a kid.
Really?
My wife's really into it, so I'm trying to broaden horizons a bit. And just working out, exercising, because it's important for health. It's more important now than ever, I think, that I've taken more attention to it. And just being around my home is something I'm happy about.
Yes, of course. And tell me about a bit about when you met your wife. Did you tell her right away that you didn't want children, and did she tell you the same thing? I'm kind of curious.
Very first conversation we had, it had come up.
Really?
Yep, straight out. I'm pretty certain of it, because one of the first times we talked till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. On
the phone, and it was kind of straight out of the gate. She had said she never wanted kids either, and so it was, it's great to be able to connect with someone like that. And I think a lot of child-free social groups that are coming up, I see it. I don't follow a lot of them personally, but I see that's a lot of reason why it's important for some of those child-free and childless social groups to get bigger, because I've been told by readers. I've had readers tell me how hard they feel like they can't be part of the dating world, or they're having trouble finding someone because It's hard to find someone who truly, genuinely doesn't want kids. I've heard that quite a bit, even as recently as a month and a half ago.
Is that because it's a taboo to tell that?
I think so. I think people are very afraid of the truth sometimes, and it's understandable. They're afraid of putting themselves out there to someone that they might really care about, only to possibly have their hopes crushed if the person doesn't want to have kids, or the person wants to have kids.
Yes, of course. And you know what is strange? It's because in my situation, it's the opposite. There's a fear because I'm still single, and in a way, there's kind of a fear that I meet someone that I really like, and when I tell him I can't have kids, that then he goes away because he wants kids. So it's kind of the reverse effect. So I really get that.
I do understand how difficult that can be, having heard stories and things like that. But I think with the growth, as it were, with the work that I'm doing and work that you're doing, and more people are going to be more encouraged to be that open, straight out of the gate when they're dealing with people, and hopefully more people can attract the kind of partner they want in their lives.
Yes. Because
of that, because of the ability to interact on social media and internet groups.
Wonderful. So, well, we're going to end this interview, but I thank you very much for spending time with me today, talking about your book, talking about your experience as a child-free man. And, well, I wish you the best with your partner and also with your animals.
She hasn't moved. She's sitting behind the office cat. She's sitting behind me.
So thank you very much, Dan, and take care.
Thank you so much, Catherine.